Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
And I think that was it.
Welcome to the 2014 HiTech Symposium. It is my pleasure at this time to introduce to you the President and CEO of Howard County Library System, Valerie J. Gross.
Thank you, Dennis. Well, welcome everybody. We're delighted to have you here this afternoon. Today is the first for our HiTech initiative. The symposium that we are holding today is the first of what we hope will be an annual tradition. So we're delighted that you could be here today. You are here because you are interested in STEM education. And HiTech is our newest initiative here at Howard County Library System that happens to be headquartered at this new branch, which is our STEM Education Center for the library system. So if you haven't visited HiTech, there is a map along with a description of the HiTech classroom and the sound booth that is there. We have a professional grade sound booth that our students use for music and video and recording purposes. So we've had a little fun at this branch with STEM education. You'll see that we are here in the Einstein classroom. The meeting room and conference room over there are the Da Vinci meeting room and Carl Sagan conference room. There's the George Washington Carver lab, the Sally Ride study room, the Abacus classroom, the Galileo laptop bar, the Marie Curie cafe. You get the picture. So it's all included there, along with a description of the scientists and so mathematicians, etc. And so feel free to take a tour if you haven't been to this beautiful branch yet, which we opened in July. So part of the symposium today includes the classes that you see outlined in the symposium program. And we have today, this afternoon, which is why you are all here, a panel of experts in STEM education. So we look forward to hearing their thoughts on just the future of STEM education. We also have here today the Deputy Superintendent of Howard County Public School System, who will offer a few opening remarks. Welcome, Linda Wise.
Pleasure to be here today, and actually I wanted to bring greetings on behalf of the superintendent, Dr. Renee Foos. This is exciting because the library, this is a wonderful facility, but it's only a facility. It's really the people and the programs that make it very worthwhile and give so much back to the community. So I want to thank you, Valerie, and your staff for the great work that you do. And also the work that's being done in STEM fields at the library complements the work that we're doing in the school system very nicely. So students, this is a high-wage career that you're preparing for, so, and especially in Howard County. Howard County is becoming a hub for technology and network security and all of the above related to STEM fields. So any opportunity that you can have for the hands-on experience, the project-based learning is certainly not only going to help you in the short term, but also in the long term preparing for careers. So welcome everybody, and I'm really looking forward to the symposium.
Thank you, Linda Wise. Want to mention our partners in our HiTech initiative. They include our A+ partners and education partners, the school system, the community college. We also partner with the University of Maryland, Clark School of Engineering, UMBC, Northrop Grumman, Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Laboratory, to name a few. So we bring the experts in. We have experts on our staff, our own instructors, learn the topics that we teach that include robotics and nanotechnology and cybersecurity and hovercrafts and catapults and music and video, and those are just to name a few. So at this point, we'll hear from our experts. I will turn it over to our moderator, Dennis Wood.
Thank you, Valerie. I'd like to introduce our panel. First, we have Dan Jorquera. Dan is a graduate of the University of Baltimore's Game and Simulation Design program. A game designer, programmer, artist, web designer, and writer, he has helped produce numerous games, websites, children's books, interactive software, and videos. His programming and software experience includes Unity 3D, Corona's mobile SDK, and Adobe's Creative Suite. Dan is currently part of the Mindgrub games team and has previously worked for Lockheed Martin, Lorikeet Learning, and 4E Interactive. Dan Jorquera.
phone image. It's working okay. Working okay? Okay, all right. All right. 1801 marks the first time a blackboard was used in the classroom. First typewriter was commercially successful that was invented in 1868. But we can really see the start of the evolution of technology starting about 120 years ago, when education was nationalized in our country. But just in the past few decades, the number of inventions contributing to the passing of information and improving learning continues to skyrocket. So over here we have, everything kind of starts in 1890, and as you can see, continues to build more and more, faster and faster. 1950s marks the coming of educational broadcasts. In 1958, the first showing of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood aired. Technology was no longer separate from education and learning. It quickly became part of children's and adults' experiences in learning. This was in part ignited by the space race. A national demand for science, mathematical, and technical expertise pushed our country to pour more of our budget into education. As I slide the image over, we're moving into the future. Personal computers became more readily accessible to the individuals as well as classrooms. Children played games on these computers, not realizing they were learning about the history of the Oregon Trail migration. And by the 1990s, you can see the accessibility of information explode. I can still remember flipping through an encyclopedia, and these huge volumes, and I would look through one labeled R and one labeled P just to find information about red pandas. But now, since 2001, when Wikipedia was introduced, I could find that in a matter of seconds. The first interactive whiteboard was produced in 1999, but their popularity as smartboards is still catching on. Smartphones became part of our everyday lives starting in 2007. The way we access information was forever changed. All right. The alpha version of Minecraft, there he is, Minecraft, was introduced in 2009. Since then, Minecraft EDU has helped get students interested in learning by letting them jump into a familiar, fun, digital experience. So they already know Minecraft, but Minecraft EDU lets you jump into a Minecraft classroom. It's just a new way to learn and experience education. MOOCs are massive open online courses. Today, anyone willing to learn can learn. Beacons will know when you are nearby with a smart device and send you unique information wherever you are. The Oculus Rift becoming more readily available, smartwatches becoming more commonplace, and blended classrooms becoming the norm show the continuing trend of people, not just students, being ready for full immersion and a constant flow of information. So be ready, because this increase is not going to slow down. People are willing to learn, and there are more ways to learn today than ever before.
Next on our panel, we have Drew Cockley. Drew is the principal of Howard County Public School System's Application and Research Lab. He is in his second year at ARL, having 12 plus years experience as a high school principal. A current doctoral candidate with Johns Hopkins University, he is studying the field of online teaching and learning. Drew is passionate about providing students with unique opportunities that will motivate and engage them to pursue their goals of higher education and rewarding careers. Much of his time at the ARL is spent creating and nurturing partnerships with different members of the business community who support and expand the reach of school in and around Howard County. Ladies and gentlemen, Drew Cockley.
Okay, thank you. I think we're still on, right? Okay, my first question is, do I have a student out there who's willing to drive the Mac? I need a driver. Maybe a student. You want to come on up? I need a student who's going to drive here for us, because one of the things I want to see is how many of you are familiar with the Howard County School System's ARL, the Applications and Research Lab? How many of you are not? Okay, and that's part of. So what we're going to do here is I'm hopefully going to show you a couple things that as we talk about what does the school system provide for students in the area of STEM, one of those is considered to be career academies. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go to the school system's homepage. And I know everyone knows that by heart, right? You know this. It's easy to remember, right? To the school system's homepage. So you got it right there. Just find it, and then search for it, and there you go. Okay, so under schools, you see the tab for schools? You can get any school in the county, but you're going to go under the education centers there. So in the left-hand column, down to the bottom. Yep, down. And then we see all the different elementary, middle, high schools, and education centers. So if you scroll down that screen, you'll see the Applications and Research Lab, and there'll be a description there for you. Right there. And that'll tell you a little bit about our school, but there's also a website. So if you can click our website for a second. One more down. Yeah, right there. There we are. And then if you follow us on Twitter, you can see what our students are doing. Right now we have two groups of students that are participating in Cyber Patriot. Is anyone familiar with that competition? Okay, so network security. Is anyone interested in learning about the field of network security? Or are you hoping that there will be students interested in the field of network security to protect your data? Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm hoping, is that a lot more students go into network security so I don't have to worry about where my data is. That's part of the great thing about that field. So when you go down over to the About, see the second tab? It says About right there. When you go About, you can say About our school. And then if you go down a little bit, skip over that. That's boring. That's really boring. Keep going down. Keep going down. When you want to learn more about us, this is where I really want to highlight, because you want to see, in terms of any of our Academy profiles and videos, if you go to that first one, it says Profiles and Videos. High tech. When you think high tech, you're thinking computer programming, you're thinking real high end of science and math, right? Well, what field does that exist in? Or better yet, what field does that not exist in? Right? Because anymore, if you're not proficient in certain technology skills, you're going to eliminate lots of different sectors altogether. So you might find out from the panel here today that they have people in every company, in every sector, that has technology skills. Well, what you can do when you have time is you can take a look at any of these little links, and that will tell you about any program that the Howard County Public School System has through the ARL, Career Academy topics. Every one of those topics is going to have a STEM component to it. Because for our students to compete in the 21st century global society, they need to understand that is going to be applicable to anything they study. Some things are more readily apparent. If you're going into biotechnology, if you're going into engineering, if you're going into a field that has that STEM title, it's a lot easier to see. If you're going into the construction trades, it may not be as easy to see. However, if you don't think that there's going to be technologies there, new fabrication techniques and everything else that's related, then you might have eliminated something that you like, but it does have a STEM component to it. So, great driving there today. And your name was? Bianca. Okay, Bianca, thank you very much. And that's a little about the ARL.
Our next presenter is Dwight Carr. Dwight Carr was selected by the Johns Hopkins, Applied Physics Laboratory to lead the APL System Office and to manage all APL STEM outreach initiatives. He has been with APL since 2003 in technical roles, serving as a project manager, lead engineer, and electrical engineer. Before joining APL, Dwight was instrumental in establishing a manufacturing laboratory for the Genealogic Genomics Corporation and served as a research fellow for the National Institutes of Health. Dwight holds a master's degree from Johns Hopkins University in electrical and computer engineering and completed his undergraduate degree in biology from Howard University, where he was a member of the National Golden Key Honor Society and the Beta Kappa Chi Honor Society. Ladies and gentlemen, Dwight Carr.
So while Dennis is bringing that up, can I get an idea of who's in the audience? So if you're a student and you're in elementary, middle, or high school, could you raise your hand for me, please? Okay, great. If you're a parent, could you raise your hand, please, with a student here? Okay, great. If you're a teacher, could you raise your hand? Okay. And any folks who are with a library, with a Howard County library system or any other library system across the country, could you raise your hand? Okay, thank you. Good. Okay, so as Dennis mentioned, I am the program manager over at the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory. What that simply means is I just look at our STEM outreach programs. I try to find gaps that are not being covered in the community or statewide or nationally. And I try to figure out programming where we can help fill some of those gaps, primarily with the goal of making sure we develop you all as students and the workers that we need in the future. So some of the programs that we have to accomplish those goals are this one program that's listed to the top left, and it's called our Aspire program, and that stands for APL's program, student program to inspire, relate, and enrich. It's primarily for high school students in the 11th and 12th grade who are looking for an experience to help them understand a little bit more about what a STEM professional really does. And having an opportunity like that is really key because it helps you all as students make the connection between what you're learning in calculus or what you're learning in algebra 2, geometry, whatever, and how it actually is applied in the real world. For instance, many of you, if you like robotics, raise your hands. Great. If you like playing with Legos, raise your hands. If you like cell phones, raise your hands. Awesome. If you like Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, raise your hand.
Wait, what?
That's what I thought. All right, good. So in order to have those technologies, we need people like Dan who can do programming and like myself and actually understand when you use calculus. I used to work on a project called Revolutionizing Prosthetics. And that is actually a really good example of where people use calculus in real life. And I always try to figure out how much to say because I can get pretty technical really fast and I'll lose people. But anyway, that's a really good opportunity for people to for students to make the connection between what you're learning in the classroom and a real world application. It's really, really important. The other thing that's listed underneath that is called our college prep program. And it's our program where we try to bring in students, normally about 20 kids per year. And we're typically students of families who are first generation college prospects. And what we try to do is offer mock interviews and we take them on college tours and things like that. So we've been doing that since 2009. And so far we've brought in about 125 students through that program, all of which have gone to a Tier 1 university and are I believe 85% of them have chosen a STEM career, STEM major. Underneath that is our Maryland MESA program, which stands for Math, Engineering, Science Achievement Program. That program started at APL back in 1978, and we were the second site in the country to have a MESA program, and now we're one of 10 MESA programs throughout the nation. It's a really great program, and we bring in kids from the 3rd all the way up to the 12th grade through that program. We also sponsor Girl Power. I think I recognize some faces in the audience, so I think some of you have been to some of those events. and those are for young ladies who are middle and high school, but we get girls and guys of all ages who attend that event. It's really important because it gives students an opportunity to meet professionals who are doing engineering and math as a profession, and also to help them understand how those things, to work in, to experience a demonstration to help them understand how it can be fun and applied in the real world. The other things that are listed there are more resources that we provide. If you go on our website, one of the things that we do to try to get out beyond Howard County is to put things online, because this is the internet is a great medium to distribute information, especially when we're trying to reach into different pockets of society who may not be able to get to APL. One of the things that's listed to the top right is our comic that we put out on the first and third Friday of every month during the school year called Fifth Period. And I've put out a compilation of that comic outside of the room, so feel free to grab a copy. And like I said, we publish them on the internet. In addition to that are some STEM on-demand videos for my teachers in here, and also for my parents. And those videos are really helpful when you're getting pushback from your students or from your kids. They're saying, hey, when am I ever going to use this math? When am I ever going to use this in real life? It does a really good job of making a connection between a product that we might develop for DoD and something like the kids care about, like the Xbox gaming system. What I have beneath that are just some statistics based on our outreach. I mean, what we try to do is we try to reach as many folks as we can. During 2012-13 school year, we reached over 3,000 kids throughout Maryland. We reached out to over 200 parents, 100 teachers. The other thing that I didn't mention is we also provide professional development for teachers, where we try to help primarily elementary school teachers overcome something called math anxiety through a program we call Unite. And it's a program where we have master teachers working with engineers, and they came up with content to deliver to teachers. And it's actually a 3-credit course that we put over 100 teachers through so far. And this is we have reached over 10 counties throughout the state of Maryland, and those are the folks that we partner with below. And the important thing, one of the things I wanted to mention about in terms of what STEM will look like in the future, it will be more connections between what you're doing with schools, the library system, businesses. I think that what we call this ecosystem will really be more of a connected ecosystem. The technology allows us to really communicate and to exchange information in ways where we were not able to do that before, really quickly. One of the statistics that I have listed back in ancient times when human beings were first learning how to write, learning how to use fire, you know, one of the things that were critical to our survival was our ability to communicate, which gave rise to the evolution of languages, and eventually we learned we needed to trade goods with each other. And so those are some instances of early social networks, right, that became critical to your survival. And as we become more connected through the internet, through computing, and through the devices that each of us that are becoming more accessible to each of us, then it's really important for you as students and us as parents to really support our kids and make sure that they are aware of how to effectively use these tools to help them learn. So in the future, I just see more of those things happening, where those connections are being made and where we can really drive learning in the direction where we can be a more successful society and interact better as human beings across the globe. So, thank you.
Our next presenter is Kruchten. Catherine is an instructional designer at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County Joint Center for Earth Systems Technology. She supports the technical component of STEM education activities, including those focusing on engineering, robotics, electronics, computer programming, rocketry, and green energy. Prior to joining UMBC, she was the informal educator for the Visitor Center at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, where she created STEM engagement in and out of school time programs. Catherine completed her Master of Arts in Teaching in Museum Education at George Washington University and holds a BS in mathematics from MIT, where she earned her teaching license for secondary level mathematics. She has developed educational programming and evaluation for several museums, including the Smithsonian Institution and the International Spy Museum. Ladies and gentlemen, Catherine Kruchten.
Those were a lot of names, and I apologize for you having to read all those, but thank you. Okay, great. All right, so I am based at UMBC with the Joint Center for Earth Systems Technology, which is actually joint with NASA Goddard Space Flight Center. Our team in particular, we call ourselves NASA's best students because, you know, we like the name. BEST also stands for Beginning Engineering, Science, and Technology. And what we do is we're trying to kind of bridge education with STEM. So throughout all of the stuff I've done with students and with parents are like, how did you get into STEM? You know, you're a girl and you went to MIT and you did math. And it's like, well, I was one of those weird kids where I didn't have a choice because my parents actually met at an engineering conference.
And can we give her a round of applause for that? Because that's fantastic.
But that's just a glimpse into what my traumatic childhood was like, right? But, you know, not everybody has such kind of STEM-focused early start. And so the goal is now, how do we get all kids at least interested in STEM content, even if they're not becoming engineers themselves? And so that's where we're trying to kind of solve that problem, right? So I've got a little video, and then I'll talk at you a little more, and then I'll give the mic back to people who can talk a little better than I can. But it's NASA, so you gotta have the video. So the gist of that is, especially, our team works with students of all ages, from kindergarten all the way up through adults. The kindergartners and the adults share a lot of characteristics, I will tell you that. But the point is, you know, across the gamut, we run into a lot of misconceptions about what STEM content is. Especially with some younger kids, you get the idea that, oh, what's an engineer? Who can tell me what's an engineer? What they think the misconception of an engineer is.
Conductor of the train.
The conductor of the train, right? Which is technically true, but we want to kind of broaden that definition, right? So can anybody give me a better idea of what we would like to call an engineer? Or what's an example of an engineer?
Problem solver.
Problem solver is exactly what we like to, how we like to define it, right? So for example, if you take a look around this room right now, who can tell me something in this room that an engineer worked on? Tell me, I know you were pointing. The chair, exactly right. So what problem is the chair solving?
Standing.
The problem of standing, right? So you could stand all day or you could sit somewhere. Now, is a chair the only solution? No, what are a couple other solutions out there?
Leaning.
Leaning, you can lean up against something, all right? If you wanted to sit, if your problem was somewhere to sit, is a chair the only solution though? Are there other options? This is a safe space, there's no wrong answer.
Steps.
Steps, you could sit on some steps. What else?
Like a bar stool thing.
Bar stool thing.
Balls.
Benches, beanbag, couches, all sorts of stuff, right? And that kind of gets at the heart of what we're doing. Is that, you know, a lot of us are used to, okay, we like math and science because it's very clear cut. There's right and wrong answers. It's not all loosey-goosey and touchy-feely like the humanities are. Well, that's actually not true, even a little bit, right? Because the whole point is that for any given problem, you're going to have multiple potential solutions. So the key comes into how can you narrow it down and pick the most appropriate solution, right? That's just a kind of bare bones, simple idea of what we do. We then extend this to, okay, how does NASA drive the next rover up on Mars, right? To make it a little more specific. But the point is, as much as we want to create new engineers, and in particular, NASA needs engineers, we want a more STEM literate public. Right? So even if the kids who come and do stuff with us, even if the teachers who come and do stuff with us, don't go out and, they're like, yes, I want to be an engineer, I want to go and, build rockets. Ooh, I don't want to solve that problem, right? We want them to be able to, kind of, that was good timing, by the way.
That's a good effect.
We want anybody coming through this to really kind of just have a better understanding of what STEM is, how it's involved in our everyday life. And for example, when you're reading articles about medicine, about science, about anything out there that the media is putting out, we want people to better read and understand and kind of see through some of the sketchier pieces of information out there. That's our goal. And the way we do it is we've been lucky enough to partner with Howard County with the library system to run a number of courses here, which is very, very exciting because all of the kids we get in here are super bright and very enthusiastic and very excited. It's hard not to be excited when you're building a robot, just gonna say. We have an easy job, very easy job. So we've done courses like that, and we also offer professional development for any teachers. We actually do workshops. I came from New York this weekend where we did another one, where we train teachers on how to use this content within their classroom. Because the way we're concerned is everything we do is hands-on, project-based learning. We want the kids driving the education. And that's really the value, I'm preaching to the choir here, of doing something in this environment is the kids are choosing it. They're choosing their own projects, and they're directing it. So they're taking ownership of their learning, which means they're getting better learning in the process. They're learning independence and communication and all of those wonderful soft skills in addition to the math and the engineering and the science. All right, so that's kind of the quick and dirty what we do. And just honestly, thank you all for being here because it's always exciting to see more people getting interested in this and kind of spreading the word and growing the program. And honestly, thank you for having us here because we have so much fun working with HiTech and all the kids coming through the programs, and cross our fingers, we'll keep that going. So thank you very much.
If we could have a round of applause for our entire panel up here, I think we did a great job today. I do want to open it up to questions for all of our panelists, and I do want to bring the mic to you, not because we can't hear in this room, but because we are recording this on video, and the sound goes better to our video camera because it goes right through our board into the camera. So if you have any questions, please raise your hand. I'll bring the mic to you. Yes, ma'am, in the back. I'll be right there.
For parents who are looking for opportunities for their children, what sort of camps or initiatives do your organizations offer? You have the classes at the Howard County school system, and then I know there's programs and things you offer. Can you talk about what you have for high school students or for students that may be interested in the NASA's BEST or Johns Hopkins program?
Sure. At UMBC, we're developing a number of courses. We're actually trying to get a summer camp off the ground featuring all sorts of robotics. The primary way we interact with kids is we partner with organizations like Howard County Library System, like the Anne Arundel County School Systems, and that's what we've got. Our team in the pipeline, but UMBC itself is enormous and has a great deal, many other offerings that I can kind of talk a little bit about in some part later on when I get a chance to think about what they are.
Sure, and So, as I mentioned earlier, we have internships for 11th and 12th grade students, and minimum requirement for entering that program is a grade of B or better in your math and science courses and the ability to get to the lab. It's a fairly competitive program, so we put out applications both for the summer and the academic year. The summer applications go out in January, February timeframe, and the applications for the academic year are out typically in May. I mentioned our college prep program. That's typically for 10th, 11th, and 12th grade students. Our MESA, or Math, Engineering, Science Achievement program, is for third graders all the way out to 12th grade, and that's school-based. That's a school-based club program. And so the other things is that we also realize that parents also need some support as well. So as the curriculum changes, you all need supports to help your kids with homework, just to be frank. And so we also have something called a Parent STEM Workshop. We're revamping that because we want to try to make it so it's a little bit more portable. And it's primarily for parents who may not be as well versed in STEM and understand why STEM is really important. Most of you probably already know this, but just to take a moment to say it, it's main two reasons that it's important to the country is from a national security perspective. Most of our technological advancements that keep us safe have come from STEM professionals. The second reason is to support our economy and to continue to make it thrive. The last thing to mention is really math, the Math Sense professional development course that we offer for elementary school teachers. In order to gain access to that program, you just need to send us an email saying, hey, I've got a group of teachers that I would like to have attend that program. We also offer tours, but we do it for classrooms and clubs. So if you are with Boy Scouts, with Girl Scouts, 4-H, you've got a classroom, we typically bring in groups of up to 25 students, including a chaperone.
Yeah, one of the things that the ARL will have this summer for students that are going from 8th grade on up is a 2-week summer camp starting at the end of June. So for people who are interested, you'll see some information coming out soon. That's in conjunction with a lot of the other system camps that you'll see that the school system supports, as well as the community college. So that's one aspect. We also have an 8th grade club for girls in cybersecurity, and that's on our website in that field. So we recognize the importance of preparing students for their high school program of study. We do send interns to Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab, to NSA, companies all around the area once they're in the programs. So a lot of those summer camp opportunities and early high school opportunities will get them ready for that level of study once they're juniors and seniors.
So recently, last year we had middle schoolers get together with Mindgrub, come up with a game design idea, plan out everything, and then Mindgrub would build it. So that first game, we worked with Howard County Library, the HiTech program. We made a game called Escape from Detention. It's free, you can play it on your smartphones, and it's fun. And this year we released Cyborg Glitch, which was also a game designed by middle schoolers. And just to throw out the theme about what it's about and to prove to you that it was middle schoolers and it wasn't just us, the theme was about a cyborg child running from a giant robot with a lightsaber in a haunted forest with a volcano. Awesome. It's a pretty fun game. On November 15th, we will have a workshop also with Howard County, and we will be using Unity 3D with middle schoolers and high schoolers to design a game in 12 hours. I won't be doing it, they will be doing it. I'm just going to judge it and help them out when they need it. Yes. Pajamas, coffee.
Hi, this question is for the developer. Your timeline kind of went to 2015. I would just like to hear your vision for like gaming and technology for like the next 20, 25, 30 years, and the other panelists are welcome to chime in there.
Sure. I had a little picture up there about the Oculus Rift. That's one technology. A lot of people are really excited about it. Facebook bought the Oculus Rift for $2 billion, so it's something to keep an eye on. It's basically, we're moving into virtual reality. It's not a dream anymore. It's happening. But also another thing that's been around for a little bit is augmented reality. It has a fancy name, but really a lot of kids have already used it. It's like if you have a 3DS and you point it at something, you will see the real world, and then you will also see like an image of a Pokemon or something. Another game is you put on these glasses and you become Pac-Man and you eat all the dots that you can see in the real world. So things like that are going to become much more prevalent. 3D printing is also being used. A lot of mobile games are already jumping on that. So you have a character in your game world, all of a sudden he's in the real world. So we're going to continue to move towards that. And of course, graphics are going to get better, games are going to get bigger. But mostly I'm excited about the augmented reality stuff. I really like virtual Pokemon, so.
And just to add on to that a little bit, from APL's business perspective, right? So they're primarily in business, not really just to do STEM outreach, but to support DoD-related sponsors. And the way we look at technology like that is we also want to know, and the DoD might want to know, how do I train my soldiers? How do I train folks on how to do things and at a reduced cost, right? Using that technology. So those are other ways that we as a business might want to use that technology in the future. So it becomes way more important for students to know how to develop that technology in addition to helping our customers understand what their needs are and adapt that technology to their uses.
It's interesting that Dan mentioned that type of virtual reality software that's being utilized right now. We have a set of those glasses that students in our animation program have tested. And so they actually model things. So for instance, in an architecture class, they can create a building in 3D, and then they can model it and using some software actually create an image that if you put the glasses on, then you can step inside their buildings and do some of that really cool stuff. So we're just starting to see the advancements reach the level where students can get excited about it. It's pretty neat to watch.
Can I say one more thing about that too? And when you start thinking about using the technology for disaster relief and disaster recovery efforts, that's actually already being used. So people are using goggles now where they're looking through the camera lenses of unmanned robots that might go into a building to search for people, to figure out what's in there. And then they'll also use these things called cyber gloves where they can actually control and actuate the hands of the robots that are going in to lift debris off of people or to look at things more carefully. So those things are being used now, and they'll be more prevalent, like you said, in the future.
And it's cool to see some of those technologies in use. Actually, here at HiTech, we've actually worked with students in classes on designing in 3 dimensions and using the 3D printer to kind of print their creations and see them come to life, which is really, really exciting to really kind of see the future happening right now with the kids.
Yeah, hi, thank you. A little bit different direction I want to steer this. I'm interested in the high school-wide situation of how to really inspire a group of students, not just necessarily the individual. An awful lot of what I've heard you talk about really focuses on the individual. A student who is excited about it, gets enthused, and goes off and explores on their own into a program with the help of teachers and everything else. But how do you get to that? How do you get an entire high school, introduce the topic at a high school level, and then see it feed from that? And what does it feed to? How do you go forward from scratch? My personal experience, I am on the committee with Oakland Mills High School. We had a difficult time getting started. We had individual students that may like to do this, but in terms of a program for the school to build on and bring more students in it, very, very difficult to start. Students, parents, I think parents are the best resource. Teachers, but students and teachers, we have difficulty at that level. Any comments on that?
I guess representing the school system, I can take that on first and then say how closely we work with partners in the field to send students beyond high school and into colleges and into trades that are high tech. So it really begins early on. Elementary and middle school students are starting to see that embedded in their curriculum. So students are getting a sense of what the technology is when you hear about what high-tech's doing, events like this. Events like this are happening all the time if you have access. And really it boils down to parents taking some time to looking for these opportunities and getting that access. So that's one step. So you have a lot of interaction between schools and parent bases and students, showing them in the classes that they're taking some of these things, and then there's enrichment opportunities outside of school as well. But the curricular aspects begin early on in elementary and middle school, and then once they start getting into high school, then they start specializing in different classes. And some new programs coming to the school system now are called early college programs. And really what these are doing is looking to engage students at earlier ages to show them what does it take to get into college, and helping them see that it is accessible. It is something that if they take a few courses here in high school and then they connect with Howard Community College, that these fields are all open to them. And one of the nice things about living around Howard County is that there's a wealth of business opportunities to help partner with those programs. So for students to get summer employment, internships, how do they, as they start to expand their opportunities, then they take advantage of this sector that is rich around Baltimore, D.C. It's just a growing field, and I think you're starting to see an understanding from students and parents about what that means, because maybe some of these industries didn't exist when I was a student. So if I'm the parent now, I didn't even know that existed. But my kids do because they're in school, and they're starting to bring that information home. So I think you're seeing that that is changing pretty quickly.
And actually, at Oakland Mills High School, we are starting a pilot next year, and it will include, it's an early college program for network security, and we're identifying current 8th graders for that program now. So if you haven't heard about it, you will hear about it. So this is, and they're going to the feeder schools for Oakland Mills High School. The other thing that I think that we do in the school system to reach a broader audience, because I do think that the STEM fields are thought to be for boys, or it's the boys who are sustaining that. So there is a program called Hour of Code, code.org, and we're participating, all of our schools, in that the week of December 8th through the 12th. All schools will somehow participate in having students try their hand at an hour of code to demystify that it takes somebody really smart to code, to give them an opportunity. And it is targeted really for students who don't have that natural interest. It's for everybody, and that's going to feed into the programs that we're having at the high school. We have engineering as elementary at the elementary school, which is directly STEM related, and just the instruction at elementary with the science kits. We build our own science kits. We do not purchase vendor products, and it's quite an elaborate undertaking. We have a whole team that every month is generating new science kits for hands-on instruction in our schools. So we could talk a long time, but those are just a few of the things. But when you mentioned Oakland Mills, I just wanted you to know we do have something there.
Oh, no.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I thought I just wanted to ask what school it was. What's my school?
What is the biggest problem you see kids have in getting into the STEM career?
Anyone want to take that?
Work ethic. Just breaking that down a little bit, what that really means is that in terms of getting kids interested in STEM, when we do hands-on activities, when we do a lot of things that are very interactive and a lot of fun, that's great to stimulate the initial interest. But at the end of the day, when we have to do calculus, when we've got to do algebra 2, when we've got to do chemistry, we have to do reactions and understand all those things, it does require a degree of commitment and persistence. And that's the thing that I think that seems to be lacking in some of the students today. It's just a matter of sticking to it until you really learn it. There are a lot of different resources that are available to you, to help you with that, but at the end of the day, you still have to, get through those courses, and they're not necessarily as easy as one might think at the outset.
I agree with you on that persistence piece. When we work with kids, especially the younger ones, we often get complaints, oh my God, this is hard. Well, yes, that's kind of the point. It'd be no fun if it were easy. If you think back to Kennedy's speech kind of charging us to move forward with the Apollo program, it was, we're doing this, we choose to go to the moon not because it's easy, but because it is hard. And for parents and teachers, this, all of the research emerging is showing that that means we need to challenge students at a much younger age, that they need to build to that frustration point, that they need to be challenged when they're younger so that they can continue to overcome obstacles. Speaking as having been a girl in a STEM field, we have additional obstacles, unfortunately, and we can talk a little more privately about that if you'd like, but it does mean getting over the fact that sometimes you have really awful teachers who turn you off of science. I still hate my AP Chem teacher. I didn't become a chemist specifically because of him, because of some really kind of awful experiences. But the flip side to it is kind of learning how to take the challenging and not so great experiences and finding your supports, finding areas where you can still pursue your interest, and using that as kind of your leverage to keep yourself going.
If I have time. Yeah. Okay. Just super fast, to get kids interested in it, I think there's the first barrier is oh, I'm not going to want to learn how to code because I'm not good at math. So it's gotta get over that. So if you try, I think it's called Scratch, and there's also a program called Game Maker. It kind of introduces them to planning out the logic of game design. It's not math, So it kind of introduces it to them that way. And as for the careers, getting into the career, I think the biggest issue for me was everyone is looking for someone with experience. So I think the earlier you start, the better. So if you can find internships, if you can find anything STEM related early on, it'll just add to your experience, add to your resume. So
this kind of fits in well with what you said. Is it? Okay, great. And just the balance between commitment and sort of interest versus understanding the principles. So I teach programming, and I also so I use Scratch, and I also use Lego Mindstorms. And the thing with kids is, of course it's exciting. You want the Scratch program to work, you want the robot to work, but the first thing you want to do is they try the iterative process. Let's just slam bam, let's make this thing work, or get the thing. And so using trial and error, of course you could try umpteen different ways of getting to the solution. But if you're even on code.org or using Scratch, if you understand that there's 180 degrees in a triangle, and that if you divide that by 3, you're going to have different kinds of angles that you're going to need to do, you're going to be faster at getting a solution, because if you're just testing it versus, oh, I see my line is 180 degrees, and now I know that my little guy has to go 45 degrees because I've already got the 90 and 45, that kind of thing, then it's applied, it's math, but you get to your solutions faster, and so there's that piece of it. So to me, it feels like a real nicety of balance, and that they see that the solution is by the math, not in the, we're just going to charge at this so many times, and we'll be sitting here, an hour later, still not with the solution.
Sure.
Anyway, and code.org and has a lot of other programs. It has Python. It has
C#, C+.
Yep, it has a lot more new units, including App Inventor, Google Android, and all that. So, and there is math involved with Scratch too. So
oh yeah, I'm not saying no math.
But you can take it's simpler from the get-go, but if you take it higher, you can use it for high school programming as well.
What made you start all of this for the kids?
You know, I think she deserves a spot up here in the panel. She's
Yeah.
got quite the personality.
Absolutely.
Come on up. I'm not the moderator, so I can't.
Oh, okay. I was asking why did. Okay. Oh, it is. Hello. Okay. What made you start all of this for the teens?
Selfishly, it's a lot of the stuff that our team does is a lot of the stuff that I would have really, really wanted to do as a kid. You know, a lot of the robotics and engineering and hands-on programs like that, much as my wonderful support family tried to get me involved with all of that, you know, stuff didn't exist. So how can we then kind of build on that and make more offerings for more people?
Yeah, so I think from a really big picture perspective, why would we do things like this? Ultimately, I mean, we have to plant seeds for kids, right? So we're facing some pretty daunting challenges. The UN just released a report over the weekend saying that if we don't reduce our carbon emissions to zero by 2100, then we're going to affect the climate and to a point where it will be irreversible, right? So we have some pretty amazing challenges ahead of us. And as adults, our generation, I'm trying to do my part by figuring out how can I help affect change. And one of the best ways to do that is through education. I think the technologies, the opportunities that are out there now are like abundant, truly abundant. And there are, like you said, there are things that are available to you guys that I wish I had access to when I was in school. And for me, I see all these opportunities for you guys, and I just want to make them available. And because of the technologies, our ability to connect all these dots right now, and how quickly we can do that, this is like how you know, let's strategize around how we can help support one another as a country, and then ultimately as a global community to make life better for everybody.
And I think it all starts with awareness. I think the first thing that we need to help students do is become aware of what's out there, because there are more and more emerging technologies and more new careers that students don't know exist and parents don't know exist that are popping up every day. So if we don't commit to this, then I think students get turned off to education sometimes, and they don't see where they could apply their energies. Because we know if students do connect with something, the fun things, that gets them engaged. And once they're engaged, then they tend to spend more time doing that. And once they spend more time doing it, then they get good at it. And that's the thing that we really want them to see, is that they are good at something. And those fields are out there for them. And just the challenge is knowing what's out there. And I think if we can change students' mindsets to be curious, to help them stay curious throughout school so that they know that these things are there, and then once they find out what's out there, then they start to realize what academics are going to be needed to continue on in that pursuit. So that's kind of why we're here. That's to open your eyes up to what's out there, and then once you get that interest, then we can steer you in any direction. So just keep asking questions.
Are there any further questions? Yes, ma'am.
I actually have two questions, so you can answer. One you just sort of mentioned. I am the parent of a high schooler who's already identified an interest in engineering and is in the Project Lead the Way.
Fantastic.
But I think he and I would like some direction as to what field is going to be the future, what area of interest should he really be focusing on. That's my first question. And the second one is about the internships you all mentioned. Obviously, you have to maintain a good grade, but what other helpful things can we work on, can he work on in order to get into an internship?
I think I can speak from inside school, and then I know APL will be able to speak from outside of school, is that number one, all students in Project Lead the Way will work with engineers during the year. They have competitions where they present their work to engineers in the second semester. So they are working directly with someone that's going to help them with their projects. And having that mentor in the field is always going to be great, because it gives them good advice on what's coming, what's changing. You know, what are we working on now, but we know that there's new things coming down the pike. So what is it? How are you going to be flexible? A lot of times those classes will bring in guest speakers, they'll take field trips, they'll do lots of things to engage the students with industry professionals. You know, that's number one. And then number two, how do you get an internship? It's show interest. You know, really, you need to, you know, every time there's a guest speaker in the room, we teach our students, that's a first impression. So when that student, you know, is in the presence of the professional, go up, shake their hand, introduce yourself, ask about internships, show interest. If you're on a field trip, do the same thing. Everywhere you go, they should be thinking, this is my first chance at an interview. And how do I connect with them? So that's number one. The grades and and everything else, yeah, that goes without saying. But then the work ethic, I think once they get there, are they professional? Do they know what it takes to succeed? You know, all those other soft skills that go into play, that's what's going to make a strong intern.
So all of the high schools have a GT coordinator who oversees the independent research and also the internships.
Yeah, so at APL, we also allow internships for students outside our county, inside our county as well. In terms of what else should you be doing? Really soft skills. I'm going to talk directly to you. So soft skills are things that we are really looking for. When we're looking at applications of a few hundred kids, all the grades start to look the same, all the courses start to look the same. The courses that do help, though, are courses in computing. If you've had Java, if you've had C#, C++, things like that, that's really helpful. Soft skills, many of our mentors are really looking for kids who are teachable.
Thank you.
So as long as you come in with a basic skill set, we don't really expect you to be an expert in programming or anything like that, or in engineering. They're willing to teach you that, but they want people who are teachable, who can communicate well, who are just willing to say, hey, I don't understand, or can you help me with this? So those are some of the key things that we look for, and that really needs to come through during an essay, when you're writing your essay. In terms of courses, I just mentioned those, and trying to figure out what type of engineer you want to be. I think at the end of the day, you have to be yourself. You have to figure out which field of engineering best suits you. Do you like materials? If you do, you want to look into material science. If you like designing packaging or designing chairs or hardware, you want to look at mechanical engineering. If you like the electronics and controlling different devices, you want to look at electrical and computer engineering. But it requires a fair amount of research, you know, and the nice thing about that, though, is when you're in college, my undergrad degree is in biology. I have a minor in chemistry, and when I went back to get my master's, I kind of did what my advisor was like, dude, you're doing, what you're trying to do is insane. Because I had to go back and do 2 years worth of prereq work so I could go and get my master's in electrical and computer engineering. So the thing to keep in mind is that just because you say, I want to major in this field of engineering in undergrad, doesn't mean you're stuck, right? So you might want to get a really, really good understanding of how things work in engineering so that if you get your master's, no, not if, but when you get your master's, you actually think and you can start to be more specific in what you want to do. But that really shouldn't come until you spend some time in the workforce and you start working with things. You're like, wow, I really like this. This is pretty cool. Because there's so many different things you can get into.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to introduce Angela Braid, one of our chief. She has a presentation for our presenters today.
Thank you, Dennis, and thank you, presenters, very much. Can we give them all a big hand, please? I had to follow the microphone roll too. Thank you all for coming out. We're just delighted to have a symposium. We have a second session coming up where we're talking about gamification, which is a new trend and very, very exciting. So I hope that you'll sit tight and hear about that. We also are going to be talking about STEM resources. And right after that, next panel, we'll be talking about STEM resources, and we'll be talking about some avenues and some information that will help parents and students. But before we move on to those two panels, and we promise to have you out of here on time, I do have gifts on behalf of Valerie Gross and the library system to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules and sharing this information with this group today. I hope that what you did was take notes or talk to your cell phones and understand what opportunities are available to you. So this time I'd like to ask Valerie to come help me out and hand out gifts, please, if you doesn't mind. And let's turn that in there. So again, thanking Mr. Carr and thanking Catherine for their input today. Again, we hope you stay around for the rest of the symposium and hear what we have in store. And to Dan and to Andrew, we want to thank you again. Again, parents, this is information to use. I'm a parent. I have 3 children, all in different ages. Don't feel sorry for me yet. I weep in my milk all the time. But we do have, but again, it's very important information, these opportunities that are available. Gamification is next, which is incredibly hot and cool. So please stay tight and we'll go from there.